You can have a business case for AI as a feature in a product. So it is embedded in a product. Most probably it's not your own AI, it's someone else's AI. And it's just there to differentiate, to improve the UX, the user interface. This is something, from a business case perspective, I guess is pretty much defined by your business development team, your product line managers, who say, I need this feature so my product can be successful on the market. So that's a very straightforward, conventional way of making a business case. I guess the more challenging one is really when you go into introducing AI into your own processes and methods inside the company. That's different. So there you really need to understand, what do I want to do with the AI? And from there, it's really all up to opportunity cost. If I don't do this, what will be the downside of not having this capability in my organization? Most people don't really understand initially that AI comes with quite a burden. There's not a one-stop shop solution out there. So you really need to build something, architect something that eventually fits your needs. I normally describe it in a way that instead of writing a spec sheet for what you want to implement, you should write a job description for your AI and then simply go on interviews and have different AIs coming in and see what they really can do. There's different things, like with a human being. It's like communication style, communication capabilities. How do I engage with the AI? That's for me very important. Is it voice? Is it a front end on a computer screen? Is it an app? So what kind of sensors, what kind of methods is it using or capable of? You need to understand there are more like the weak AIs, very narrow AIs, specialist AIs. So what am I looking for? Am I looking for an AI that shall help me in my business development process? And most probably it should be good in data analysis. Am I looking for something that should help me improving the output or optimizing the output of my factory? Then I'm looking for something very different. So I need to know what the job really is to find the right AI for what I need to accomplish. Sometimes a certain skill is already something so complex that you would say, this is enough. Sometimes you need 1,000 skills to create eventually an artificial intelligence that's worthwhile having. For example, right now we're working on an AI that's called Sherlock. When he gets a predecessor, we might inherit all the knowledge that we gained directly from the start in the new AI. So he has a tremendous amount of knowledge already from day one. So that's very different to the evolution of a human being. And this is what we can see right now. You have even those very popular AIs like Amazon's Alexa, where you have thousands of skills. Now they live kind of isolated in their little worlds. But if you put them all together and interconnect the one skill with the other, you might create something very exciting and very different. That's, for me, the challenge, but also the inspiring thing, what we can do with artificial intelligence. We're just kind of scratching at the surface. The first is really inspiration. Most companies don't really have the idea what they want to do with the artificial intelligence. The next big stumbling stone is fear. And fear comes in a lot of different sizes and forms and shapes. Very simple, basic fear. It's like, will it do the job better than I do? Will it replace me? And then there's the more rational part of fear, and AI is only effective if you allow it to gain access to huge amounts of data. You want to be kind of omni-knowledgeable, because then it can find patterns that you didn't see in the data and give you a hint where you should be looking for. So the AI can access it, but if the AI can access it, someone else might access it. So you're going to work with your IT department to overcome the fear and build the security infrastructure so the AI can be effective. Eventually it's resilience. If your company is not resilient enough, because the first results you create with your AI might not be super exciting. They might be disappointing. So some people might want to stop there. So these things, if you get them right, then you will have a successful introduction. Most companies are struggling with them. This is not a grassroots initiative. You need someone from the top who says, we're going to do this, we're going to communicate it right, we're going to take away all the fears, and we're going to give you the budget and the resource, so you're going to be successful. So actually, we can actually use what we're doing with Sherlock at Harman. If you look at our business environment, it was changing over the last 5, 6, 7 years dramatically. It's like it was a very linear kind of value chain. And suddenly our business changed, and all the devices became connected, and every device became smart. Even headphones have now 70,000 lines of code. And we needed to understand how are we going to deal with the new competitors on the block who are no longer the ones we know since 10 or 20 years. And there's so much information out there, but the information is like overwhelming. You go on Google, you search for something, and you get 20 millions of results, search results in 0.2 seconds. So what we said, okay, let's build an AI that can make sense for the business development teams and the technology teams out of the information that's out there. If we have an idea, let's check the idea, what's out there, what's happening, does the idea make sense, does it relate to any trends, do we see weak signals? And this is work that normally takes you weeks and weeks and weeks for every single request if you do it manually. And an AI for something like this isn't too expensive, so you need a few guys, you need a department of 5, 6, 7 people. You need a little budget for certain kind of services that are already out there. If you can make that work, it provides value that's really measurable because you can use the information even for M&A, for technology decisions, for investment decisions, where you normally pay a lot of money, for example, for consultants. So you have a direct business case. And we are working on this now since 1.5 years, and now we're seeing the first results. So I guess the time to market for such an architecture in an organization is 1.5, 2 years. It adds a massive layer of transparency. Now, an AI, if it makes you a recommendation, what we have seen with Sherlock, when you get a report, for example, from our system, it's a PDF document. It's got the data that you were looking for, curated by a human being eventually with the system together. But it gives you also all the sources where it pulled the data points. And there is no way how you can misinterpret it, because you can look it up and say, okay, this is why you did this, this is why you did that. But this level of transparency is really, I think it's exciting, but it can also induce a little bit of fear, because all this, what you earlier called gut feeling, is going away by changing your business. And an AI can pretty well detect, for example, if it's implemented well, the user patterns or the user behavior of your products. And with this information, you can build a better web service, for example. With this web service, you change your business model slightly. And with the change of the business model, normally comes a change of culture. But I guess really the bigger impact is still when it's directly embedded, the AI directly embedded in your processes, and you're engaging with it, and this level of transparency is simply awesome. I think the weak, narrow AIs, they are already there. And most of the times they are even not recognized, because they are part of the operating system, they are part of the feature set of the machinery, for example. So it's like you don't even recognize that it's there. The more interesting thing is what's going to happen when we go from narrow to broad, or from weak to strong. And what needs to happen from my perspective is, on the AI side, it needs to be able to understand the way how I'm talking to her or to him. My TV Carl says, I want to work with one AI that's following me. If I'm in the office, it shall control everything in the office. If I'm at home, it shall control everything at home. It shall understand how I'm acting. So it needs most probably some sense of fusion. Speech is not everything. It's like it needs to be able to look at you, understand your body language, your mimics, facial expressions. as soon as we got sensor fusion, as soon as we got a really natural language understanding, full understanding of what I'm doing and being contextual, so even reasoning with the AI, then we can address the mass market, and then it's going to get accepted. The other learning curve was really security, data privacy is a concern. It's a concern for the consumer, the same as it is for a company. Right now, we don't know where our information is going. It's much better for the companies because we got our own IT departments and they are architecting their own security layers. And we have a lot of solutions in the consumer space, but how eventually the company that's compiling all the data so the AI can be effective is dealing with the data, that's still too intransparent. So that's also one of the learning curves I guess the whole industry needs to work on. If we find a way that AIs can communicate together in a data anonymous way, so they can exchange and share, for example, solutions for kind of the same problems, but with different algorithms, with different methods, then we're going to see some massive, almost exponential increase of learning.